Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some PathOfExile discussion. Patch 3.24 introduced a significant overhaul of the betrayal system. Not the actual mechanics themselves, but the loot rewards that came from it. A number of things were changed to have their rewards be scarabs instead, and additionally, one of the most important rewards that came out of the Catarina fight was the Ashling Slam, which is something that you used to be able to get deterministically but not be able to securely trade to other players. This and the Veiled Chaos Orb was sort of merged into a new currency called the Veiled Orb. This is more powerful than anything that existed before, but it is also rarer than what existed before, where you could pretty deterministically set up a betrayal board in order to guarantee that you would get an Ashling Slam, which is a Veiled Orb you couldn't trade to other players, and you could also get Veiled Chaos Orbs, which were a significantly weaker but thematically related currency. Now both of those rewards are gone, and the RNG Veiled Orb has replaced them. Early in the league, someone did some testing on Catarina and her drop rates. They ran 200 Catarinas, which must have been a large effort, and this player reported only getting 18 of the Veiled Orbs. However, around the same time, other players had reached out to me, giving me information they'd had on how many Veiled Orbs they'd gotten, and these were statistically incompatible amounts. For example, one player reached out to say that they had run 13 Catarinas and they'd gotten 7 Veiled Orbs. Another person reached out to say they'd run 12 Catarinas and they'd got 8 Veiled Orbs. This set off alarm bells in my head. I ran a little bit of statistics and found out that there was no way that these could all be true unless the odds were different for the ways those players had set their boards up. So I did a little bit of testing here. Now, minor flashbang alert, but I have made this duller than it would otherwise be, so it shouldn't be too bright. So what we did was we ran a number of Catarinas, but we did so taking note of the status of the board at the time that we opened the Mastermind fight. So, how many stars did the Captain of Transportation have? Same for Fortification, Research, and also Intervention. Then, how many total Captain stars were there? How many stars were there amongst the Grunts, the members who were not Captain of Division? And what particular loot was dropped? Now, out of these 66 runs that we did, we got a total of 14 of the Veiled Orbs, which indicates a drop rate of around 21%. I think it may be 20 or 25% on high tier maps, and I want to explain why I think the person who ran all of their runs early in the league only got 18. So in patch 3.24.1, there were substantial increases to the drop rate of Veiled Orbs. Now, the player who did all of the testing said that they ran their tests after 3.24.1. I think what's happened is they've had the date of 3.24.1 wrong, and they've actually run them before it, but not realized that 3.24.1 happened after they'd finished. So they've run 200 tests before the buff comes in, and they've got a total of 18 because they've been a little bit unlucky, and maybe their drop rate was 10% or 12% in high tier maps then. Now my test, and a number of other players as well, have then come along later and have gotten higher drop rates because we've done them after 3.24.1. I think that's the most likely outcome. So where does this leave Catarina? If the drop rate is indeed in the 20 to 25% range, then this means that you're getting an average of 400 to 500 chaos every time that you run the Mastermind, which today is a little bit more than 3 Divine Orbs. Interestingly, this is almost exactly what you used to get under the old system when you went and sold your Ashling Slam on the Forbidden Trove Trade Discord. Not counting patch 3.23 there. Affliction being Inflation Core, you could sell an Ashling Slam in that league for 15 Divines. That was not normal though. This league is more typical, and I think this might be the situation going forward. Essentially, Catarina now has a jackpot drop, and that jackpot drop is uncommon but is genuinely achievable. Additionally, you may be interested to know that in our 66 runs, we got exactly 1 Devouring Diadem, so that hat is definitely not common. It's speculated to be 5% drop rate, and I think that could well be plausible. There's certainly nothing statistically incompatible about getting only 1 of them out of 66 runs if it is indeed a 5% drop rate. As far as the other items go, the Flask is the most common, the Shield is second most common, and then the Staff and the Chest Piece are slightly more rare than the Shield, and as we've already said, the Devouring Diadem is much rarer. Interestingly though, we found absolutely no correlation between the status of your board and whether or not you got a Veiled Orb. This is something I was expecting you would find. I was expecting it would be the case that the more stars you had on the board, the more chance of getting a Veiled Orb. That was not the case. So if you are interested in running Catarina, and it is pretty good XP to do Betrayal in general, then my suggestion to you is to completely disregard setting up a convoluted board, just rush as many Masterminds per hour as you can, and that's going to get you the best results. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. I'll put a link to the raw data down in the description, which seems to have moved on YouTube. I used to always say it's down in the description below, but with the new interface on YouTube, maybe now it's actually on the right of the screen, which is going to crangle all the videos I've done in the past. But I'm sure people will be smart enough to figure that out. May your Veiled Orbs have interesting results.